How's it going, Pokemon trainers of the world? It's your gal, Little Miss Houndoom, here to guide you on another adventure into the world of Pokemon. Aww, Gen 1 Pokemon. A series of games many remember as being a fun part of their childhood. The games where finding a Zubat was exciting because we just didn't know better. Where endlessly pressing on a truck was like a big secret you just weren't getting right because rumors on the playground said if you did it enough you would encounter Mew. So you kept trying with that belief, knowing one day you'll get it right. You were never getting it right. I loved Red, Blue, and Yellow when they first came out, and little 4-year-old me got a hold of them, and I still play them now well into my adulthood. But as I grew up and newer games came out, I noticed every time I went back to Gen 1, I found myself going, oh my god, this is so broken! The nice thing about these games is I never stopped learning more about them despite having played them for over 20 years. Like how when recording footage for this video, I accidentally discovered you can change the order of moves in battle by pressing select. Why did no one tell me this? There's always more to learn about these games, and it's one of the reasons I can still play through Kanto even though we've had so many versions of it. Like, so many. Kanto is to Pokemon what Ocarina of Time is to Nintendo. So I thought to get me back into the swing of making videos, I'd start off where my Pokemon journey started, all the way back at the very beginning. I've heard lots of people say Generation 1 of Pokemon is bad and is a broken mess of a game, and then the others defend it saying they're amazing games, and it did get me thinking, how broke is Gen 1 of Pokemon really? And that's exactly what we're going to explore today. So let's look at all those messy, less than perfect parts of original Pokemon and see how broke it is. I'm not going to mention things like missing no because it's kind of a glitch that you actively have to trigger, and while yes it exists within the game and is a reason it's kind of broke, it's unlikely you would randomly encounter it on your playthrough. So I'm going to look at the parts of Pokemon Red, Blue and Yellow that you would naturally find during a casual playthrough. With that said, let's jump in. To start us off, I really want us to take a look at how the stats and types work in these games because Gen 1 Pokemon had a real interesting way of doing this. Instead of the standard HP attack, special attack, defense, special defense, and speed stats that we're all used to, Generation 1 had HP attack, special, defense, and speed. There was legit not a different stat for special attack or special defense, so the game had one single special stat that was used to determine one's special attack and special defense. Pokemon like Mewtwo, who had obscene special attack, also had insane special defense because it was the same stat being used. It meant a lot of your special attacking mons were genuinely broken as all hell. If you have an Alakazam on your team, you can get through the game so easily, it's genuinely depressing. The major downside to this is that special attacking Pokemon did barely any damage to other special attacking Pokemon, and a lot of the common Pokemon moves were considered special due to their typing. See, Generation 1 had an interesting approach to how it worked out what moves were special moves and what moves were physical. The game developers programmed it so any move that was a specific type would always be seen as special and would use the special stat of the Pokemon to work out damage. So fire, water, electric, grass, ice, psychic, and dragon moves were all seen as special, and normal fighting, poison, ground, flying, bug, rock, and ghost type moves would always be physical. This is a very simple variation of how stats work these days, and if you look at later games, you'll see that they flesh it out more by making special attack and special defense different stats. They break moves down into physical or special, not just making all moves of a certain type be one or the other. But Gen 1 stats and types were a little bit broken. It's not anything that would massively break the game, and definitely not a reason to say these games are bad, but it did create some issues. So give Gen 1 a few broken points for the special attack and defense being one stat, because it causes issues and is something that had to be fixed later down the line. Alright, so it's got a couple of baroque points, but nothing too major. Let's move on to looking at something like, I don't know, critical hit rates. See, critical hit rates worked off the Pokemon's base speed stat. The higher a Pokemon's base speed stat, the more likely it is to land a critical hit. This meant Pokemon like Mewtwo almost always landed critical hits because their base speed is just that high. Man, this video really should have just been called, Why is Mewtwo so broken in Gen 1? Stop being a prime example of what didn't work in Gen 1, Mewtwo. We get it. You're the ultimate Pokemon. You can calm down a little, bro. They fixed this issue pretty quickly, making it so that a critical hit happening was no longer based on a Pokemon's base speed and instead worked off a set formula, which made it much fairer. But in Generation 1, if your Pokemon has a high base speed, it is more than likely going to land a critical hit almost consistently, and that does lead to some incredibly frustrating situations. Speaking of frustrating situations in Gen 1, there's a situation in Generation 1 of Pokemon which most players will have experienced, and it focuses around a few moves in particular, and is genuinely the reason Bellsprouts haunt my dreams. Wrap, Fire Spin, Clamp, and Bind are all moves in Gen 1 that are literally just too broken. Imagine this, you're making your way through Mount Moon, when suddenly you're challenged to a battle. The trainer sends out a Bellsprout, and you're like, ha, this is fine, I got this. And then the Bellsprout uses Wrap, and then your Pokemon can't move for up to 5 turns. And then once it's free, you're stuck in the same loop again, and again, and again. And now you're dead. This situation was a common situation in the original games, unlike in future games where your Pokemon gets a turn when stuck in these moves and would just take a bit of extra damage at the end of the turn. Generation 1 thought, nah, it'd be great if the Pokemon stuck in any of these moves just doesn't get a turn. How truly fun for the player that was. Oh, and that's not the only reason why Wrap is broke in Gen 1, by the way. Wrap is a move that lasts 2 to 5 turns, completely immobilizes the enemy Pokemon, and only the first hit of up to 5 hits has to be calculated by the game to check the accuracy of whether the move will land or not, and also work out if the attack is a critical hit. I know that doesn't sound too horrible, but then you realize that if the first hit of the move is a critical hit, then every hit of that part of Wrap will do that damage as well. It will just consistently do the same damage value of a critical hit for up to 5 turns. So now you find yourself stuck in Wrap, getting constantly critical hitted by the Mon, and all you can do is kind of sit there and wait for it to end, which just usually ended up with your Mon dying and the new Mon getting stuck in the exact same cycle. I have died to Bellsprout with Wrap so many times it actually drives me up the wall. It's just so broken, it's unbearable. Oh, and although Wrap is a normal move and can't hit Ghost Pokemon, it will still immobilize it. Like, how is that even possible? Why does Wrap work how it does? It's horrible. While the endless Wrap cycle is genuinely annoying as all hell, it's hard to tell whether that or the freeze status is more annoying. In Generation 1, freeze doesn't actually have a chance to thaw out naturally. It can only be cured by an ice heal, being hit by a fire move that can inflict burn, or the opponent using haze. Now, the likelihood of you getting hit by a fire move while frozen is so tiny, you might as well just count that one off the list. The opponent Pokemon probably isn't going to use haze either because of how the AI is programmed. So your best hope is that you have an ice heal on you, which aren't really found in the overworld and can only be bought from very specific stores. So if you've forgotten to get any of those, that Pokemon's just frozen and not doing anything. Freeze being pretty much permanent is kind of infuriating and can lead to many annoying situations. Let's not forget an Elite Four member likes to use ice, so you'll probably experience getting frozen and stuck during a playthrough of your game somewhere. While this doesn't make the game super broken, I am mentioning it because freeze having no chance of naturally thawing out is really frustrating and something that had to be fixed in later games. But also when playing against friends, you couldn't really use items, so freeze would be permanent, meaning it's GG to that Mon, and that's really broken. While that is annoying, Generation 1 is still awesome and I'm not convinced it's broken. Okay, cool. Let's talk about how catching Pokemon works then. While it's normal that Pokemon can break out of a Pokeball and a mechanic that makes sense, the Pokeball also has a chance to miss. And that's all Pokeballs, excluding the Master Ball. They can just miss. The only games where Pokeballs can miss is Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, and that makes sense because the game's meant to be more like Pokemon Go, where, that can happen. But Generation 1 has no excuse for this to be an issue. It's just something it has. Now, the reason this happens is your catch rate is so low that the Pokeball wouldn't even shake once, so instead of wasting your time doing that, which, later games do, it would just give you a message saying your Pokeball missed, which, as a young player, used to upset me more than watching a Pokemon break out a Pokeball would. It's just you missed. You're so bad at throwing Pokeballs, you missed the Pokemon in front of you. While I know this mechanic is still present in future games, it's presented in a much less frustrating and broken way, which is why I'm mentioning it here. Okay. There seems to be a bit of an elephant in the room right now, like, just casually sitting there as it does, lurking in the corner, doing its thing. That elephant is Psychic. Remember how earlier on I mentioned that you can just kind of rag through the game on Alakazam alone? There's a reason for it, and it's because Psychic is truly unbalanced in this generation. So Psychic is weak to Ghost and Bug, which obviously there are Pokemon for in Gen 1. However, they sort of mess this up here because remember that Psychic is strong against poison? That thing. Well, do you know which 2 types tend to get poison as a secondary typing? Bug and Ghost. And that's right, the 2 types that are meant to be strong to Psychic get poison as their secondary typing, which is weak to Psychic. This is a massive issue. It means that Alakazam is hitting crazy hard against mons that are supposed to deal with it. This is only made worse when you realize that the only offensive attacking Ghost move is Lick, and that doesn't even really matter because Psychic isn't even weak to Ghost in Generation 1. It's immune to it. Okay, Ghosts aren't helping with Psychic types at all then, like they were designed to do, because apparently that's programmed wrong and the only Ghost line of Pokemon we get in Gen 1 is Ghost Poison anyway. So they're weak to Psychic, and Alakazam will hit him like a truck thanks to his lovely special stat. But surely Psychic isn't as broken as you're making it out. This is all just a mean trick to try and say Gen 1 is broken. Oh, how I wish that was true. But the only offensive bug moves in Generation 1 are Twin Needle with a base of 25, Pin Missile with a base of 14, and Leech Life with a base of 20. And the one that's likely to deal big damage to, say, Alakazam would be Beedrill, which has poison as its secondary type and is slower than Alakazam, so it's probably getting knocked out before it actually does anything. Oh, and let's not forget to point out that Beedrill is the only mon who can learn Twin Needle and Pin Missile. If, you ignore Jolteon who learns it, because no, he's a spiky boy. So those other bug types don't tend to learn bug moves, and the ones that do don't hit hard enough to do anything and have poison as their secondary typing. This helps literally nothing. Psychic is horrifically broken, and the move Psychic is broken as well, because it has a 1 in 3 chance of lowering the Pokemon's special stat. Because, we need to give Alakazam and Mewtwo even more edge when it comes to special. If anyone needs extra damage output, it's clearly these two broken monsters, says literally no one ever. I'm sorry, but Psychic in Gen 1 is broke. It's so very, very broken, and you can't ignore it. The sheer brokenness of Psychic literally punches you in the face constantly. They did not balance this type correctly in Gen 1, and it took a lot of generations to make Bug good. So, yeah. Gen 1 is broken when it comes to Psychic types. And even if it wasn't made worse by the special stat situation, you can't ignore how broken Psychic typing is in 1st gen. It is just a thing. You gotta accept it. Okay, back onto the topic of broken moves here. Do you remember how Hyper Beam has a condition that you need to recharge after using it because it hits really hard? Gen 1 seems to forget that a lot. Because if you can knock out the Pokemon that you're attacking with Hyper Beam, there's no recharge. You can just use it again and again. It hits so hard it's probably gonna knock out the opponent's Pokemon as well, so Hyper Beam is genuinely really broken Gen 1. Like, no, I don't need to recharge after shooting a giant laser out my mouth, it's all good, I can go again. Considering there are so few strong moves in Gen 1, having a Dragonite Hyper Beam your face and then be able to do it again instantly is a little bit frustrating. Not fun. Oh, and let's not forget to mention in this, Focus Energy. See, due to a glitch, Focus Energy does the opposite of what it's meant to do. Yay? So instead of doubling your critical hit chance, it's reducing it by 75% instead. So Focus Energy is literally a pointless move that hinders you, and you just don't know it's happening. Yay! Okay, I'm starting to feel mean now. I love these games, but my god, so much is broken in them. So let's take a small moment to talk about the AI. The AI in Generation 1 is programmed to always use the super effective move, regardless of what it is. So if the AI has a super effective move, it will just spam it endlessly, even if it will do nothing. This means if you really feel like it, you can lock people like Lance into using, say, just agility because you brought poison-type Pokemon and the AI thinks that's a super effective move and it should use it. I know we're talking about very early days Pokemon, but this setup of AI is ridiculously bad, and if you can lock trainers into that kind of loop, it's not great. Though don't get me started on the Elite Four, because my issues with Gen 1's Elite Four is like a whole other video of its own. That, I'll eventually make, because seriously, Gen 1, your Elite Four is really bad and we need to talk about that. Alrighty though, you know what? I think I'm done. I'm done poking at all of Generation 1's flaws. So I know there are more issues and flaws with Generation 1 that we could have mentioned in this video, and maybe I'll come back and do a part 2 to this at some point in my lifetime. But for now, I am feeling super mean, and I feel like we can just, we can stop poking at all of its flaws now. It's fine. It knows them. We know they're there. So we went into this video asking the question, how broke is Generation 1 of Pokemon really? And honestly, the answer is it's pretty broke. Not like so broke it's unplayable, but broken enough that the flaws are noticeable on a casual playthrough. I will always have a soft spot for these games, but I can't not notice the issues with them. Generation 1 of Pokemon is super broken. Being broken doesn't mean they're bad games. We can say, hey, Gen 1, you don't work too good, and that's okay. Whether you love Gen 1 or hate it, I think we can all agree it definitely has its flaws, which make it just a little bit broken. But what do you guys think? Do you think Gen 1 of Pokemon is broke? What is your favorite broken thing about Gen 1? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed the video and want to explore the world of Pokemon with your very own Houndoom at your side, which you totally know you want to do. Until next time though, I'm going to carry on exploring the world of Pokemon, ready to show you guys more of the awesome world that is the world of Pokemon. Or, the broken glitchiness of it. Either. Bye-sies for now!